This episode of GunBlog VarietyCast brought to you by lawofselfdefense.com. Go to lawofselfdefense.com/variety to learn about your state's self-defense laws. Sign up for one of their online or in-person seminars or buy the book Law of Self-Defense and get 10% off when you use the discount code VARIETY at checkout. That's lawofselfdefense.com/variety. Sit back, relax, and take a ride with us on the GunBlog VarietyCast, episode 35. Welcome back to the GunBlog VarietyCast. I'm your host, Sean, from NC GunBlog, and with me today is Michael Bain's hero, Adam, from Guns, Cars, Tech Blog. How are you doing, Adam?
Well, I don't know about Michael Bain's hero, but I did help him out a little bit.
So tell me how that went down.
So we went to the NRA show. Everybody knows that from last week's episode. And on Saturday night, Michael Bain was having a little get-together, and it was supposed to be put on by one of his sponsors. Well, we got there, and the restaurant was posted, which means nobody could go in because everybody had guns, right?
Yeah.
So Michael Bain is like, trying to figure out, okay, what do we do? What do we do?
The people that were supposed to set it up didn't set it up. Now, we're not going to name any names. If Michael wants to call them out, that's his business. But he had some people that were supposed to do this and get it set up, and they hadn't done it.
Right. So he talked to management. Management was like, yeah, no, go away. We don't want your icky guns here or your money. Basically, the day before, when Sean and I had gone down to the Pita Pit on 2nd Avenue, I noticed this place that had some Gadsden flags and no posting. So ran down there and made sure that they were going to be okay with us coming over. They said, yeah, sure. Came back, told Michael Bain, hey, I found us another place. And he hands me his Amex and said, all right, go start a tab.
Hands you his platinum Amex card and says, go start me a tab in my name. I'm going to send people from here.
Yeah. And so he stood out front of that other place, which was Honky Tonk Express, by the way, and directed people to come down to
the Whiskey Bent
on Broadway in Nashville.
Go there. Nice place, nice people.
Good music.
Yeah, pretty good music. Was there any bad music?
No, there's no such thing as bad music in Nashville.
I think there's a rule against that.
It's the talent pool is too big.
Good time. Had a great time there. Got to see some interesting people. And got to stop in and talk with Joyce Wilson and say, hey, the new IDPA rules are pretty cool. It was interesting to just see the kind of cross section that showed up there from, me to like serious people like Joyce Wilson, Bill Wilson, people that everybody knows.
Yeah, it was fun times.
And Michael bought all of the beer. It was very nice of him. Now, of course, he bought ginger ale and 7-Up for me.
And Coke for me.
Because we're driving and we have guns, but
right.
So last week I said something about the Lucky Gunner story. I'll tell you about that later, and forgot to get back to it in the 30-minute crush that we had. So I wanted to tell that story. My father sent me an email about a week and a half or so before the NRA convention, and he says, "Hey, do you need any ammunition for your AR-15? At this site, it's this price." I think it was like. Well, I don't remember the prices exactly, but he says, do you need some? And I looked at the price, and I don't keep track of what ammunition prices are for, but I pulled up Lucky Gunner, and I went to AR-15 ammo, and looking at basically the same kind of ammo, brass cased, 55 grain ammo, which is what I would use, was about $100 per thousand cheaper. So I sent him an email.
That's pretty significant.
Yeah, $100 per thousand, rather, it was like $360 versus $260, or I don't know. It was 10 cents a round cheaper, whatever it was at Lucky Gunner. So even if you don't buy from Lucky Gunner, you should always check and see what the price is there, because that'll give you a baseline. And you may find it's cheaper. And I am an affiliate, and Adam's an affiliate, and I think we'll set up something here so you can click on the link so you can get there. And it gets us a very small what is it, about a 4% commission. So that'll go towards buying better equipment for
Miguel.
Yeah, Miguel was pretty close, but we still have more equipment that we need. So take a look for that in the show notes. Now, I got to spend the entire NRA convention at Adam's house with his wife, Nikki, and his 2 wonderful sons. And they were very cute kids, I got to say.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And Nikki wants to adopt you, by the way. So Sean, the first day he was here, he unloaded the dishwasher and like made breakfast and cleaned up after himself. And my wife was like, can we keep him? Can he stay?
Well, luckily, almost all of your stuff is in a fairly standard, easy to find location. So when I unloaded the dishwasher, I knew where to find everything, except I couldn't figure out where to put the coffee cups.
Yeah, and that's like the one thing in the kitchen where I know where those are. So that was pretty easy.
I think that actually the reason I couldn't find them is because all of the coffee cups had been used.
Oh, yes.
So there wasn't another coffee cup. If there'd been another coffee cup, I'd have found it. And, not drinking coffee myself,
Right.
And so what did you think of the breakfast sausages that I brought along?
That was pretty good. Pretty good. You brought 2 or 3 different kinds?
3 different kinds total. There was the link sausage, then there was like the long coil, and then there was the chorizo, which that went over a storm.
Yeah, that stuff was really good.
Yeah, I decided to bring along as my sort of thanks for letting me stay some meat from May Farm Meats, which is a friend of my family's, my wife and mine. We've known this guy for a long time. Well, he runs a pig farm. If you, like many of our listeners, are in the North Carolina area and you ever get into Raleigh, go to the Raleigh Farmers Market and look for May Farms Meat, MAE Farm Meats. The guy's name is Mike Jones. Just ask around for him. They'll point you in the right direction. And just tell him you heard about him on the podcast. He's not a sponsor, but he is a really good friend.
Yeah, Nikki says you can come and stay with us anytime as long as you bring the sausage.
Oh, okay. And presumably clean up after myself.
Yes.
Well, that's my chore at home, so it was kind of hard not to. So, the Tactical Dog and Fitness Report.
We walked a lot.
Yes.
A lot.
Dices had to stay home. I really, really, really wanted to bring Dices and let the dogs play, but given how long we were gone, it would have been A, cruel to the dog, and B, it would have just been really, really mean to your wife to dump that on her. She had so many other responsibilities.
Yeah, plus Tactical Dog doesn't know that she can jump a 6-foot fence, so we only have a 4-foot fence, but Dices knows that she can jump a 4-foot fence, and I didn't want her teaching Tactical Dog how to jump over our fence.
And there are chickens next door, aren't there?
There are chickens. Tasty, tasty chickens.
And there would not have been chickens afterwards, I'm pretty sure. I've never seen her actually kill anything. I don't know that she would or wouldn't kill it on purpose.
Right.
But she is way too rough for chickens.
Yeah. The neighbors and I, we have an agreement that if the chickens come over here and something happens to the chickens, then it's not our fault. And they understand.
Yeah, I understand. So, Adam, you did actually keep track of how much we walked.
Yeah, so I've got one of those Android smartwatches, the Samsung Gear Live. I've had it for about a year because, way to catch up, Apple. Anyway, and it's got a pedometer built into it. And so on my typical day, I walk about 6,000 steps. So on Friday, we did 15,260. Saturday, 14,522. And the funny thing about Saturday is we didn't even walk the show floor on Saturday.
We pinged around with Uncle.
Oh, yeah. So we went to a couple of places, but we didn't do nearly what we did on Friday. And then on Sunday, we did 10,067 steps.
Yeah.
So that was a lot.
That was a lot. And yeah, it would have been nice to be able to bring the dog and let them eat, but I think we're going to have to find another time to do that.
Yeah. The other thing was there were a lot of Malinois at the show.
A lot of military veteran service dogs, it looked like.
Yeah.
Aaron Paulette is on assignment and will return next week.
We're going to kind of abandon our normal show structure and just talk about the things that we saw at the show last week. And now, we should say, this is actually Monday, the day after the NRA convention.
Right. I'm going to be traveling the rest of the week, so this was the only opportunity that we had.
Yeah, pretty much. We'll start with NRA people. NRA staff, except for JG, were really nice people, pretty classy. And even JG was able to fake classy.
With that sexy, sexy mustache.
Yep, and a suit coat.
And a suit coat.
I think that the NRA should really consider having like a podcast or like interview booth where you can do the media interviews, camera or otherwise, in an area where there's a little bit of sound isolation. I think that would be really helpful. And I think I'm actually going to contact, I don't know that, JG has anything to do with it, that end of it, but he could probably point me in the right direction, especially after we just insulted him.
Right. Naturally.
Because he's totally cool like that.
Yeah. So in episode 34, you guys heard, the plates clacking because they were cleaning up some of the food. And then, there were those other podcasters that were having a feedback loop. And so all that, kind of detracted from what we were trying to do. But
it did give you a very I was there feel, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
And that was kind of what it was like. It was pretty nice, but I think it would be really interesting if we could set up like a podcast booth and maybe get some equipment in and then like do a sign up, if you do a podcast, I need this hour and you can come in and record your stuff. But I'll talk to them, see what happens.
Yeah, it wouldn't take much for it.
Right. So, Adam, if you had to pick who was the absolutely nicest people in the entire convention, the NRA people were pretty nice. The people that served us at dinner or at lunch, they were pretty nice. But who would you say was the number one people?
The convention center staff. Now, we talked last week about how, you were kind of surprised at how nice all the restaurant folks were. And I was like, well, that's kind of normal. Even I was surprised at how friendly and nice the convention center staff were. And there were probably hundreds of them there, all smiling. Hey, how you doing? Or I hope you're having a good time. Can I help you out with anything? I mean, it was great.
Right. Totally gun people, right? They were totally there just for the NRA convention?
Yeah, not at all.
Not at all.
So, yeah, this was just our regular Music City Center staff.
Right.
And they were absolutely fantastic.
Right. Absolutely not our crowd coming out to be with us. They were people who were paid to be there probably. So if you were thinking that maybe they would say, oh, NRA, oh, we need to, I don't like these people. Well, if they thought that, they sure are the best actors in the world. They were the nicest. I mean, like orders of magnitude above what I am used to from anyone. So is there such a thing as like Nashville nice? Is there like a phrase for this?
No.
Okay,
no.
Well, we're starting
just
it
Southern
now.
hospitality, but that's for everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I got treated, Southern hospitality at home, and this is better than that, and that's impressive. So I think we're going to call it Nashville nice.
All right.
So hashtag Nashville nice. Tell the mayor.
And the convention center folks. I actually go to church with one of the people who works for the convention center pretty high up. So I'm going to tell him next time I see him.
All right. And then there was the Belle of the Ball. Single Action Shooting Society had some people there, all in their finery. Some of them a little finer than others. And there was one who was the finest of all. This lady, she looked like she could walk into the middle of a gunfight at the OK Corral and everybody'd stop and tip their hats. One of the cowboys would run over, ma'am, let me help you to the other side of the street.
Yeah, she looked great.
She was awesome. I just wanted to kidnap her and walk around with her. Everybody think I was cooler just because she was with me. We're going to put a picture in the show notes, and if we can find a link to where you can find her, or find the Single Action Shooting Society, but I totally want to do that. That'd be fun.
It does look like a lot of fun.
It's dress up and cowboy action shooting.
There was a guy running around. He was probably mid-20s.
Probably.
Dressed up like a cowboy, and he was just so cute.
Well, this week in Foreign Policy for Grownups, Nikki answers that age-old question. What would happen if we put an economist in charge of foreign policy? So, Nikki, do you know what the definition of a waste is?
What is the definition of a waste, Sean?
A waste is a busload of economists plunging over a precipice with 3 of the seats unoccupied.
Ooh, hating on economists today. Wow. Well, since you've got the economic vitriol going, how about this idea? How does this sound to you? An economist running America's foreign policy.
Oh, great. Somebody who knows the price of everything and the value of nothing, running our most important policies in the United States. That sounds wonderful.
I sense a hint of sarcasm there. Believe it or not, I think it really depends on the economist. I just read a fairly interesting article in Foreign Policy entitled, "America's Foreign Policy Isn't Economically Defensible." And in it, FP's senior economic editor, Daniel Altman, argues that if a hardcore economist actually ran our foreign policy, the choices we make would be a lot different. I actually agree with that, but is different better? What do you think?
Paul Krugman is an economist.
Aha! There's a scary thought. So economists do actual cost-benefit analyses before making decisions. And I think said analyses would end up with very different results than what we have now. Good or bad? Again, I think it depends on the economist. As you said, Paul Krugman is an economist. Frightening thought. But where I think Altman is a bit off in his analysis is that he treats this analysis as an objective thing rather than something based on each economist's personal political views. I would say Krugman, his foreign policy would be a lot different from, let's say, Cato economist Dan Mitchell's. For instance, Altman says, for an economist sitting in a White House, the ultimate objective might be the long-term welfare of all living and future Americans, with no preference between the two. Already this would be a departure for Washington, where every politician knows that future Americans can't vote in this year's election. But I see no reason to give some Americans more weight than others just because of when they'll be able to vote. So now, first of all, I would debate whether it's the president's job to consider that particular ultimate objective to begin with. It's a nice to have, but ultimately the president's job is enforcement of the nation's laws. Additionally, while I agree that politicians are, for the most part, self-serving swine, who really only care about those who vote for them, the definition of quote-unquote welfare of all living and future Americans will differ from economist to economist. Altman's second contention is that maximizing the well-being of Americans is to its core preventing them from being killed. Current foreign policy suggests, he claims, that the United States needs to spend billions of dollars to keep a relatively small number of American people from getting killed. The wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, forget about all the money spent on intelligence, public security, and costs to private business, have cost more than $100 billion a year. What's the worst that could have happened in the absence of these wars? Even if an attack on the scale of 9/11 had happened every year since 2001, the cost of saving each life would still have been at least $30 million. So technically he's correct. The money we spend annually in Iraq and Afghanistan far exceeded what we have paid due to terrorist attacks. And of course he advances his own little pet political project, claiming that money would be better spent on road safety, community health care, pollution reduction, blah, 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 blah. So I think what he misses is that foreign policy affects the economy. How much did the economy of New York suffer after the attacks? Reductions in tourism, businesses that closed, etc. He discounts all this. And it all has an economic impact on everyday Americans. How much have we spent creating an unnecessary bureaucracy that hasn't stopped terrorist attacks at airports? How much more are everyday Americans paying for air travel thanks to this? Again, he just discounts this. Additionally, he doesn't consider the unknown costs of just allowing terrorism to flourish without reacting to it. Should we have just let the cancer of Al-Qaeda spread worldwide? Should we have stopped our leadership role in NATO and just allowed our allies to either go at it fighting terrorism on their own? A move that would certainly allow the jihadist cause to grow. All these are consequences, economic ones, to such policies that we cannot really calculate given the unknown factors here. Altman claims that this would be rational, and I think a lot of libertarian economists would agree. But I think the answer is a lot more nuanced than what they actually claim. There are questions that would need to be answered. So is isolating the United States from world events really the answer? Do we need to continue our entanglements with our allies and provide that umbrella of security they all rely on? Would there be a causative dilatory effect if we disentangled ourselves from conflicts around the world, especially those that are, quote unquote, fundamentally tribal or religious, as Altman recommends? And are these conflicts fundamentally tribal or religious and would have no geopolitical or economic effect on their neighbors and on our allies if it spilled over? Additionally, was ending the military operations in Iraq and Afghanistan a really bright idea? He thinks it is. I mean, the Islamic State certainly seems to have made military gains once our folks largely left the AO. And what about Afghanistan? Will our departure give the insurgency impetus to start acting out again and launching attacks on the West? Will the resultant internal chaos spill over into the West? What kind of economic and geopolitical impact will a resurgent insurgency have on our allies and on us? I don't see a particularly deep analysis in Altman's piece that takes all of these factors into consideration. As a matter of fact, he very vocally discounts them. Yes, a straight bean counter may only consider the superficial economic costs that he can immediately see, but there's a lot more to it than that. So that's my 2 cents on the issue, just to make you a little more frightened of an economist running the nation.
All right, Nikki, it was good to talk to you. See you again next week.
You bet.
Nikki blogs at thelibertyzone.com. More NRA people. So I got to meet Nikki Gozer again, and I was pretty surprised to find out that she is actually a friend of yours.
Yeah, I have known her for quite some time. Those of you who know her story know that her husband was killed several years ago. I actually met her about 3 days after that.
Oh.
So I've known her for a pretty long time, and I consider her a friend. Real nice lady. But, one of the things that she talked about when you and I were with her was that a lot of people just know her for that, right? For her speaking and all that. And that's not really who she is. That's one thing that kind of happened in her life. But, she babysits and she quilts and she cooks and
Knits.
Yeah. I was really happy to see her and know that she's still doing pretty good.
Yep. Very, very nice, very attractive, but a real person. And that's the one thing. See, I have a hard time dealing with people who are celebrities for a particular thing. And I don't want to go and bug Nikki, who I only met the one time at GRNC, the annual meeting last year. And hi, I'm yet one more person who all I know about you is the tragedy that happened and that you're working on our side to try to not have that happen again. I appreciate that, but what do I have to say to you? It's good to have been able to meet her and say, okay, who are you really? What's the rest of the story? Tell me more about you, because she's a real person and a whole person, and it's got to be really draining that to 95% of the planet, that's who you are. If they know you at all, what do they know about you? And then, let's drag you back through that tragedy.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about some of the other people that we met, and, it was like, what am I going to say to this person other than, hey, so about that really horrible, awful thing that happened in your life?
Yeah. Can you bring it up for me?
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more detail about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like now if I ever run into Nikki again, which I'm likely to, I can talk to her like a normal person. And I appreciate that. Thanks a lot, Adam. I'm glad that we had that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm glad we got to see her.
And she's really a nice person. So the biggest ego boost of the convention was meeting Gail Pepin and Masad Ayub.
Yeah, we were just kind of walking through. I was like, hey, that's Masad Ayub.
Right. He was signing some books. We stopped in to say hi. Hey, how's it going? And he signed a free book for us. And I hear this voice, this really distinctive voice. I turn and I look at her and I'm like, I know your voice. You're Gail. I hear you on the Gun Dudes. And it's Gail Pepin right there. She turns and she looks at me. She looks at my media badge with my name on it and my blog and podcast. And she's like, Sean, I read your blog. I'm like, awesome. This is cool. And I said, this is Adam. He's my, co-host. He and I do this podcast. And she's like, that's the podcast with Miggy on it, Miguel Gonzalez. I listened to that too. So I was like, yes, Gail Pepin listens to our podcast.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
If you don't know who Gail Pepin is, I can't really help you. She's awesome. Moss is a really nice guy, right? He's a polite, nice person when you talk to him. But Gail's that sort of lady where she just sort of brightens your day just to be around her.
Yeah. She's
starts talking and you're like, I'm happy all of a sudden. So, Moss, you are a lucky dude.
And I'm sorry for making you feel old.
Just because you got here on the planet before us.
Yeah.
It is true. I remember reading him way back.
Yeah.
And we ran into George, listener George, at Gail and Moss's booth. George ran the blog Newbie Shooter, and I kind of think that that's just sort of been overcome by life. I don't know that he's blogging there anymore. He came to the Tiger Swan blog shoot, I don't know how many years ago that was, 2, 3? I lose track. And he was at the Moss booth, and he was like, hey, Moss, when are you going to come do a Mag 40? And I think that what's going to end up happening is George is probably going to set up a Mag 40 class, which is really how these things happen. If you know a trainer that you want to come and teach people, then what you need to do is you need to set up the class, because, somebody else isn't going to do it for you. You have to do it for yourself, and then publicize that and say, hey, Moss is going to teach this Mag 40 class. I mean, that just sells itself right there.
Yeah.
It's apparently a very difficult class. It's a hard class to take all the notes. The shooting is a little bit tough, but everybody that takes it says, why did I carry a gun before I took this class?
Yeah, and I remember hearing about one of the Mag 40s was put on in Memphis, which is, only a couple of hours from where I am. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll just make it the next time. Well, come to find out that range is now closed, and Moss doesn't have anywhere in Tennessee to put a class on, so I may have to figure something out for him.
Yep, and I'm going to help out George. I'm going to really seriously hope that he does this and keep talking to him. So, George, do this. I will help you out, whatever I can. And anybody who happens to want to take a Mag 40, I mean, it's not cheap, and not in term of time or money. It's going to cost you a week, and it's going to cost you, what is it, $700-800?
I don't know.
Look up Mag 40, MAG40, and the Mossad Ayub group. Look for it, find out what it costs. But it is absolutely worth it. From the people that I've spoken to, the people that I trust, every one of them says, oh, yes, take this class. So, yeah, I hope that happens. I'd like to see that. Well, this week in Arma, Miguel wants to talk to us about the huge increase of crime in Nashville during the NRA meeting. Hey, Miguel, I missed you at the NRA annual meeting.
Don't do that to me.
So according to the official numbers, the NRA meeting had a total of 78,865 people, the second highest NRA convention total in history. Well, the anti-gunners always tell us that more guns equals more crime. I can flat guarantee you that a huge percentage of the people there were carrying, so it should have been a bloodbath, right?
Yeah, right. Listen, I went ahead and tried to look for an official word from the National Metro PD. Couldn't find one yet. But I found out that they have a little tool. It's called crime mapping. And they sort of record log the incidents of crime around the area of Nashville. And I went ahead and checked for the crime area surrounding the convention center. And it was interesting. I saw that they recorded 2 cases of assault for the whole weekend. This is the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. 2 cases of assault, 2 cases of larceny, 2 disturbing the peace, 1 vehicle vandalism, and one graffiti. Okay, now this on its own doesn't tell you anything, so I want to compare it for the weekend before. And the weekend before had at least 5 acts of assault, and they had drugs, they had an armed robbery. You can tell the difference just on the icons. I'm not trying to say that this is scientific and perfect, but just looking at the graphics, the amount of icons from one weekend to the other is amazing. How little compared to the prior weekend crime was in the NRA convention. And if you go to the week prior to that one, you have not only more crime, but multiple crimes at one event. And it was amazing. I mean, if anything, like I said, this is not scientific. This is not the final word by National Metro PD, but it tells you that we aren't people, are polite people, and crime does go down when we're hanging around. And when you're talking about 78,000 plus people packing guns, even the dumbest of criminals is going to think twice about messing with them.
Well, the cops did say that it looked like a bad weekend for anybody to commit a crime.
Yeah, the response would be kind of immediate and not happy.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, but like I said, we're still waiting for the final answer. But if anything, what the crime mapping tool from the National Metro PD shows is that, actually crime went down.
All right, Miguel. It was good to talk to you. I'll see you again next week.
See ya. Take care.
Get more Miguel Gonzalez daily at gunfreezone.net. Stuff I want to buy.
Yeah, so let's start off with the thing that I actually did buy.
Yeah, that's kind of a clue right there, isn't it?
So I was actually kind of hoping to find a 7.62 by 39 complete upper at this show. I wasn't able to find that. But we turn the corner and there's Lone Wolf Distributing, the aftermarket for Glock, basically. I have had a Glock 23 for 7 or 8 years. So Glock 23 is the compact 40. Daddy Bear's the 22, Mama Bear's the 23, and the Baby Bear's the 27 in 40. For a while, I've been wanting to switch over everything to 9mm, but I couldn't ever sell my 23 for more than I would buy it again for, if that makes sense. Because, switching guns is really expensive.
Yeah.
Right? You've got your holsters and you've got your magazines and, all accessories, all that kind of stuff. So I've basically just kept that because I couldn't economically get rid of it and switch out to something else. But I've been wanting to switch to a 19. Well, Lone Wolf Distributing makes barrels that convert a 23 to a 19. So it's a drop-in barrel that has the outside diameter of a 40 caliber barrel and the inside diameter, of course, of a 9mm barrel. So you drop in, switch your magazines, and boom, now you've got a Glock 19. And I actually bought the threaded version because, hey, I have one suppressor, now I have 2 suppressors. Let's get more suppressors.
Yeah. You put your suppressors in the corner and they sort of multiply, don't they?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So now I just, need to buy a suppressor.
I think the big, most exciting thing in the things that we could possibly afford category, certainly that,
Yes.
is the mycasebuilder.com.
The owner of the company was down there, Steve. He makes foam inserts for your case that you have, or he will sell you a case, or he will make a custom size if you want to build a case or do, some furniture or something like that. But he's got a water jet machine that will custom cut any size or shape up to, I think, 9 feet by 4 feet is the size of his foam. So, hey, you want to throw something underneath your bed? 9 foot by 4 foot.
I saw this when it came out. And I remember ooh, this sounds cool. And I went to their case builder thing and started trying. And I'm like, I'm too dumb to do this. It was 3 years ago. And it was just so difficult. I couldn't figure it out. They didn't have very many shapes. And I just, all right, whatever. And I forgot about it. And now he's showing me the upgrades on his site and all the different things you can do. I mean, if they don't have the gun you have and they don't have the gun you have with the light laser attachment that you have on it, you can take a picture of it and you can remove the background in Photoshop, throw it in the case builder software.
And it's a web app, so you don't have to download anything.
Right. It's online, and it just sort of draws around it, and you make some adjustments, and it will cut the foam to fit your specific whatever, whether it's a gun or a camera.
Yeah, he was actually leaving our show and going to the National Association of Broadcasters to demo his software there for all that camera gear.
Right, and we totally we told him about the life hack where you want to be able to lock your very expensive camera gear and not let the TSA paw through it after you've gone through security. Well, you can get a starter pistol. It's treated exactly like a real gun. And, all they'd have to do is put a little cutout for a starter pistol in the camera case, put a starter pistol in there, and then the entire box is treated like a firearm box. So you take it to the TSA, you stand there while they look through it, you lock it with your lock and take the key, and they don't have a TSA key to it. And then it goes through, and unless they steal the entire case, nobody's going to steal anything out of it. So he's all excited. He's going to definitely tell the guys at the National Association of Broadcasters that.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to order some stuff from this guy. I'm really excited about it.
Right, and I was surprised at how cheap some of it was. I mean, inexpensive. Not cheap, but inexpensive. The little case that carried one pistol and I think 4 magazines.
Yeah. So your standard 1 or 2 pistol hard case,
right?
It was $28 or something like that.
Right. I think it was $15 if you had the case and you just wanted the foam. It was I think the most expensive in the unless you had some special situation where you had 4 guns. He was looking at $35.
Yeah.
Well, for $35, why would you go down to a Cabela's or a or call Midway USA for anything when you can get it custom cut for you? So mycasebuilder.com, definitely. We don't have any relationship with the guy, but maybe you should put in the comments, hey, I heard about you guys on the GunBlog VarietyCast. He took information from us, so maybe he'll remember talking to us at the show. Of course, he probably talked to 10,000 people.
He probably did.
Yeah.
he had a really cool setup.
He was like a really cool guy, so you wanted to talk to him, even if you weren't really super interested in what he wanted to sell you. You wanted to talk to him anyway. He was a really nice guy.
Yeah, he was.
And then you find out it's so inexpensive. You're like, well, why don't I have one?
Yeah. Yeah.
Then there was the SIG suppressors. That was kind of the surprise for me.
Yeah, so SIG released a bunch of suppressors, or announced some 9mm, a 9mm short, a 40, 45, and then all the way up to a 338 Lapua. And I believe they're all titanium, so they're really light. The 308 suppressor that I have is a YHM Phantom 762, and that thing weighs about 2.5 pounds. That's a little bit of an exaggeration, but not much. And these things are they're really, really light. I think they're less than a pound for a 308.
Yay. Another person's putting out suppressors.
Yay.
Whoop-de-doo.
Titanium, right? It's going to be like $1,500 or $895.
Yeah. So I would really like a chance to demo some of those and see what they're like, because I was, well, heck, I wish I could remember that. John Hollister, that's was his name, right?
I think so.
I think it was John Hollister. Everybody knows him. He used to be at Advanced Armament. He's the bald guy with the pointy beard.
Yes.
Really super nice guy. I totally understand why people hire this guy, because I guess not only is he good on the technical end of stuff, but he's really good at dealing with people.
Yeah, we actually had a really funny experience. He was trying to talk to us about suppressors and kind of give us the low info version. And then it was you and me and say Uncle. And I said, hey, all three of us have suppressors. He's like, oh, okay. And then switched over to more technical mode.
But yeah, I would really love a chance to sit down. I mean, I'd love a chance just to sit down and hang out with John Hollister, because he was just a nice guy. He was a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
But in his element of the suppressors, I mean, he was just a lot of fun. I'd love to sit down with him and have him, let us demo stuff with him. So, Sig, if you're listening.
I'm not real sure how T&E works on suppressors.
T&E is it's cheaper to fly you and me up to the SIG Academy.
There we go.
In the why would I want this? Oh, yes, that's why category is Pyramid Air and Humorex air guns. They had a Pyramid Air shooting range in what passed for the basement. I'm down on the first floor. There was some pretty cool pellet rifles, but I'm not really interested in having a pellet rifle. I mean, they were really nice, but I wanted to shoot their little pellet pistol. Right. And they're it's a SIG branded pellet pistol. It's about the same size and weight as a SIG pistol. And, I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. And it was really super nice. It was probably a lot more accurate than I could be at the range they had us shooting at. I mean, we were shooting at
25 yards.
Or I don't know how many yards. There was no way I was going to hit the tiny, tiny, tiny rifle targets that they were, which were easy to hit with the rifle. I mean, it wasn't even difficult. But with a pistol, I'm just not that good. So that was really, really, really nice. The slide worked, just really cool. $99, right? You're like, oh, okay, this is really cool, but how can I possibly have $99? Really? How do you make this for $99? Much less sell it for a profit. So I was all excited about that. And then Uncle stopped us and said, "You've got to see this."
Yeah, he grabbed us and I think we were in the media room and was like, "You have to come and see this." And took us all the way over to the Humorex booth, where they had a full-size and proper weighted Smith & Wesson 686. And also what he was really excited about was a cowboy single-action Colt revolver.
Yeah.
And you actually, the cartridge for it that holds your pellets is actually it would be like a 44 mag round.
Well, I don't think they're 44 mags, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. So you would take out, how you unload a single action, right? It's, you pop the little side door open.
Yeah, you have to open the loading gate.
Right. And then, you hit the little rod and the spent casing comes out. Well, the spent casing in this case is actually, that's where you put the pellets.
Yeah. It was just it was really cool.
Yeah.
And, Uncle says, look, I do not go to these gun things and say, oh, shut up and take my money. But he's like, shut up and take my money. And the guy at the Humorex booth is like, no, I can't. He's like, but why not? He's like, I'm not allowed to. He's like, it's not a real gun. You can sell it. I can't. So he's like, I need two. Was that for, I don't know if he wanted two of each or two of the 686 or two of the single action armies, but he wanted two of something.
I don't know, but they were all really, really well made.
Right. Humorex doesn't have the greatest reputation amongst gun people, because of some of the things that they've tried in 22s, but they are apparently a fantastic airgun manufacturer.
Yeah, pot metal slides will hold up a whole lot better to air guns than they will to 22.
Right. And they're really nice. Nice people, too.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You were all excited about Magpul's booth.
I'm a total Magpul fanboy. So at SHOT Show, they announced a Remington 700 stock for less than $300, and I wanted to play with that. And then the day of the NRA convention, they actually released a Ruger 1022 stock that's kind of the same thing. You know, it's several adjustable comb pieces, you know, link to pull adjustment. And then the really cool thing was that there is an insert in the front. You can have either a standard tapered barrel, or you flip this insert over, and now there's a channel cut in it for the bull barrel.
Right.
And that was really cool. Of course, the first thing I said to the guy was, "So when's the takedown version coming out?" He's like, "This thing has been out for less than 24 hours. Give us a minute."
Yep. Yeah, and you tried to tackle them and take away their Glock 19 mags, except they didn't have them out yet.
Yeah.
They have Glock 17 mags, and what did he say on the Glock 19 mags? Like 3
he said
months?
summer. Yeah.
3 months?
Yeah.
Speaking of coming up really soon, we went to the Cert Pistol booth because Cert Pistol,
Right.
and I got to play with that, and it's really nice. You know, I don't really understand the whole, I got to have a prep light for, you know, you pull the trigger slightly and you see the one light and then the other. So just the one light that flashes when you pull the trigger. And what was really interesting is that the way it was set up at the range we were shooting at, it would sort of, the light would spill around the front sight when it hit. You know, I was looking at the front sight, I would point it at the target, I'd pull the trigger, and there was this flash of red light behind the front sight. And it was you know, because I do a lot of dry fire. I think I've talked about that. And it was really, I totally saw that. So Adam, being a smarty pants, I know Cert's caught a lot of flack because they've been promising that they're going to bring us a Smith & Wesson M&P Cert pistol. And so what did he answer? What was his answer?
He said, well, the first thing he said was, "Okay, how many times have you asked somebody at a Cert booth that question?" I said, "Oh, none. This is actually the first time." He says, "Okay, so 2 years ago we said 3 months, and I'm telling you today, 6 weeks." And then he went into this thing where there was like a manufacturing problem, and there were some refinements that they wanted to do, but they apparently have most or all of the actual parts in their warehouses now, and it's going to be just a matter of assembling them.
Right.
Cross your fingers, 6 or 8 weeks, they'll have an M&P cert.
And he says that they are getting basically hammered on all sides for 2 specific things beyond the M&P. Everybody wants a 1911, and they want a SIG. 1911, there's pretty much a 1911 is 1911.
Right.
You know, okay, whatevs. The SIG, on the other hand, he's like, there has to be like 5, I think it was 6 different trigger modules, double action only, double action, single action, the new 320. I don't know what, I'm not really a SIG, you know, I'm not that deep into SIG pistols. I want the SIG 320, at least I want it enough that I want to shoot it and see what it's like, but I'm not a double action, single action fan. So that's going to be a complicated nightmare. I would point out to them, however, that a Cert pistol for a SIG 320 would probably just be a Glock module, right?
Probably.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? They could do that really quick.
Just saying, guys.
Just saying. We stopped in to talk to the Double Star guys. On my side, you know, on the strength of Michael Bain keeps saying Double Star rifles, and I think you'd kind of heard of Double Star before.
I had, and I had mentioned to Uncle that I was, you know, looking for upper parts and all that stuff. And he said, "Oh, no, you need to go talk to the Double Star guys." And, you know, we walked over there and, you know, talked to I think 3 of their guys that they had over there. Uncle and Michael Bain both just speak really highly of all their stuff. Uncle said, if you're going to build your own stuff, just buy all Double Star parts. They had a 308 rifle that was there that they called Bertha. I don't actually think that was the name of it.
I don't believe they called it Bertha. They called it Lane Bryant.
Oh, yeah, the Lane Bryant model. It was a very heavy 308. As you know, with long-range precision rifles, heavier is better as long as you don't have to lug it everywhere.
And none of us, let's face it, you and I are never going to be in a situation where ounces equals pounds and pounds equals pain because we've got to lug this thing through the brush 50 miles to get to the battle.
Yeah, that's not
No.
going to happen.
No, if the battle isn't within viewing distance of my house, I'm probably not going.
Right.
Right. And typically they're not going to give me enough time to open up the gun cabinet and get the giant rifle out to shoot at them. You know, it's, you know, the
Right.
kind of battles I'm going to get in are going to be between my house and the car.
Yeah.
It's going to be my pistol. But so, yeah, I'm not really worried about it being big and heavy.
Yeah, but I mean, it looked really nice.
Yeah. You know, now that you mention that is something that I noticed about it. It all seemed, it all seemed like it was done correctly.
Yes.
I don't want to get too far into the fit and finish derp
Right.
for Tam, but you know, it just looked put together well, and they were really super nice.
Yeah, they were.
We did stop at the Aimpoint booth. What can you say about Aimpoint that you don't already know? They're really nice. The people, again, very nice people.
We had one of their technical sales guys talk to us for probably 15, 20 minutes
Right.
about all the different models and, you know, why we should go with an Aimpoint over an EOTech. And
he was really nice about the EOTech. It wasn't like he was mocking the EOTech
Right.
or anything.
right.
But yeah, he was a really nice guy.
So I have an EOTech on my home rifle.
And I do too.
And I've had it for, 6, 7, 8 years. But, I'm looking to switch over to an Aimpoint for my next rifles.
I might be interested in giving it a try. I would really like somebody to loan me their Aimpoint sight so that I could, practice with it for a little while. And it would be nice to be able to go to like a carbine course. First off, I'd like to go to a carbine course, but I would like to go to a carbine course and then be able to try both of them and see which one worked better for me.
The big deal for me about the Aimpoint is that you can turn it on and just leave it on.
Yeah, that is a really big plus. I think, though, no matter what I decided for the regular rifle, the SBR 300 Blackout with a suppressor on it that I would keep for home defense, which is what I ultimately want to build, I think that would really just have an aim point on it.
Yeah.
Just throw an aim point on it, leave it on. Then all I'd have to do is rotate the selector lever to semi and watch my lane.
Yep.
And we did stop in at the Tavor, the rifle Tavor place. And I'm not a real big fan of the Tavor rifle. I have no real interest in having a Tavor rifle, but they were kind enough to explain how to deal with the one problem of the two that I had with the Tavor. The two problems I've had with the Tavor is, and see, I've not shot it myself. I don't have one. I don't have a friend who has one. I'm not going to be around them much. But they did have a Tavor at a suppressor shoot that I went to where I was the line judge. I was there trying to keep people from doing anything ridiculously stupid. No matter what you were shooting on that line, whether it was a pistol with a suppressor, whether it was a bolt action rifle with a suppressor, an AR-15 with a suppressor, I didn't have to wear hearing protection standing behind you. When you brought the Tavor out, it had this really loud screech, and I put hearing protection on. Now, if you're not looking for something that's hearing safe with a suppressor, then you really don't care about that.
Yeah, and I think the guy explained that it was because the muzzle was so much closer.
It might have been that.
Because
Who
of that
knows?
bullpup design.
Yes. Who knows exactly on that. That was not really something that could change. But you know what? If you're wearing hearing protection, probably not an issue.
Right.
The other problem with the Tavor for me is every single person who shot that thing came back with oil splashed all over their shooting eye. Now, we insisted, of course, everybody wear their eye protection, because eye protection, duh.
Right.
So nobody got oil in their eye. But I was thinking, wow, if I haul that out and try to shoot somebody with it because they're breaking into my house, I'm going to get oil in my eye. Well, it was over lubricated. Tavors need 6 drops of oil. He showed me on the Tavor where those drops go. Any other oil in there is totally not useful. And all it's going to do is get ejected out the port into your eye.
Yeah. And he actually said that even suppressed, they have this problem that they call Tavor face. So it's an ambidextrous rifle, right? So you can have the ejection port on the left or the right. Well, there's a little cover that you put on the side that's not the ejection port. And so that's where your face is. And that cover doesn't seal really well. But he did give us the name of a guy who's actually kind of local to me at Gearhead Works.
I don't know. We'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, we'll put it in the show notes. But he actually makes a cover that seals a lot better. And said, if you're going to get one of these, you probably want to get one of these ports, especially if you're going to shoot suppressed.
Right.
And the one thing he covered for me was, I complained about bullpup mag changes, and he actually showed me like a little ninja trick to do a mag change real quickly on the older Tavors. The new ones have the mag magazine release kind of where an AR-15 magazine release would be. But the older ones, it's still kind of behind where your hand would be.
Your shooting hand.
Yeah, shooting it. And he showed me like a little ninja trick to pop that mag out real quick.
Yep. Just move your shooting hand back slightly, hit the lever, mag falls out.
Yep.
Well, we said it before. You should never use the default password on anything. Here, Barron gives us another example of why not in
Tech Tips.
You
are damaging my calm.
Tech Tips with the Barron.
So, Barron, did you read the story about how a Rochester family found out that somebody has hacked their nanny cam and was just leaving their baby's crib open for the entire internet to see?
Yeah, obviously somebody doesn't listen to the GunBlog VarietyCast, because I am reasonably sure I covered this back in, I believe it was episode 12. It's not really that they got hacked. You see, they didn't change the password. They didn't change it from the default password. So it's basically freely accessible to everyone on the internet. Listen to me carefully, everyone. Default passwords are known by everyone with access to Google. This is one of the things that makes me worry about the Internet of Things. Do you really want your refrigerator on the internet where any idiot can change the temperature? Does that sound like a good idea to you, Sean?
No, it doesn't sound very good to me.
Philips smart LED bulbs actually have a password, and they can be available via Wi-Fi, so you can change and you can even program them so they'll wake up at a particular time in the morning. Do you think it's a good idea to have that available so that somebody can have your lights turn on at 2 o'clock in the morning?
I would be very upset.
So this is something that people actually should be paying attention to. And, well, my favorite part of this, though, is the idiots who are claiming that the hackers are just trying to help. Well-meaning hackers have been trying to alert parents to fulsome security vulnerability for years. Sometimes their efforts aren't so subtle. One hacker took control of a FOSS-cam and screamed, "Wake up, you little to a toddler in Texas in 2013. Another shouted, "Wake up, baby," to a youngster in Ohio in 2014. But as malicious as their methods can sound, these hackers are trying to actually do these customers a service, waking them up to the fact that the product they're using and putting into sacred places in a home is hackable by anyone with minimal tech expertise. Again, I wouldn't really call this hackable because they merely know the default password.
True, it's basically you've handed a key to everybody on the planet.
That's right.
Yeah, well, we were discussing this on Facebook. A friend of the show and the show's graphic designer, Timothy, said, hacking nanny cams and then saying you're trying to help is a lot like jumping out of the closet at Barron and saying you're trying to help him with his reflexes, as in liable to get unwanted perforations that are detrimental to the human experience.
But it's not just the video of your baby that might get broadcast to the entire internet. Let me set the scene.
So you're standing there in the nursery. You've just finished that one job that has to be done, but you don't have to like doing it. Then you look up, and there she is.
Oh yeah.
She says, "There's nothing sexier than a man who can change a diaper.
Oh yeah.
I just got out of the shower, and I'm only wearing this towel.
Oh yeah.
I guess I'm just gonna have to take another shower later."
Oh yeah.
And then you hear those words. The worst words imaginable. Why is the nanny cam moving? Did you change the camera's default password? Are Russian hackers recording this?
Oh shit.
So Barron, what's the moral to this story?
Change the password on your internet-enabled cameras, or you're going to end up on America's Sexiest Home Videos, and probably not as a willing participant.
All right, Barron. It was good to talk to you. See you again next week.
See you next week, Sean.
Barron still blogs at the-minuteman.org. Stuff I want to do.
Go to the SIG Academy.
Yeah, well, we kind of covered that already, but I would love to go to the SIG Academy and let them show me their suppressors and their SIG 320 pistol. Would love to go up there and take a look at that stuff.
I know Jay went up there a couple of years ago and had a fantastic time. And I've seen some videos taken there at the SIG Academy. And yeah, I think that would be fantastic. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Say no more. SAS, Single Action Shooting Society. I've done historical reenactment. I like playing dress up. I like the what do you call them? The costume drama movies. I would love to go to do some SAS stuff. The biggest problem for me is the expense, because I don't want to, wear a pair of jeans and
right.
No, I want to look like the guys that came out of Tombstone.
Yeah.
It cost me more than the guns, and the guns aren't cheap. But yeah, especially with the nice lady with the top hat, she totally sold that. I just want to be cool like her. And Appleseed.
Yes, Appleseed.
Want to do another Appleseed. I've done an Appleseed. I qualified. I am a rifleman. We did an Appleseed shoot with people that read my blog or other bloggers in North Carolina and had a great time. And I spoke with Bob Owens of bearingarms.com. Now, Bob Owens he's local to me. He lives just south of Raleigh. He was there at that blogger shoot, and he ended up volunteering. I think he ended up getting his red hat, instructor hat.
Yes.
And with all the work he's doing with bearingarms.com, he's not having a great deal of time to be an instructor anymore. But he was talking to the guys at the home range in Ramseur, and he's like, yeah, they'd like to have another blogger shoot. You want to do that? So I thought, a lot of the listeners come out of North Carolina. Ramseur is kind of easy to get to from Greensboro or the Raleigh-Durham, Chapel Hill area, or Fayetteville. Hey, you can get there from Charlotte. It's probably about 2.5 hours from Charlotte. It's a weekend. It's a great time. The Appleseed guys at the convention gave me 5. The Appleseed guys gave me 4. It was 4 free tickets to do an Appleseed. And, I'm thinking that maybe we should put together a shoot. I am thinking the best time to do anything outside shooting related is in North Carolina is October. What do you guys think about doing an Appleseed shoot in October? And we'll try to get a bunch of people together. I'd like to see at least 10 people, but better than that would be fill their shooting line. They have you would not believe how big the firing line at the home range is. I don't think I'm exaggerating to say you could put 50 people on the line.
Oh, wow.
And it's covered. It's a cement floor. They have carpets. They have pads. They have a roof. It could be raining. It could be blazing sunshine. You're going to be in the shade. It's going to be warm if it's warm. I mean, it's not air conditioned, but it'll be October in North Carolina, which is a great time. So, Sean at SeanSorrentino.com, send me an email. Tell me you'd like to participate. I'll just randomly assign the tickets, and they're adult tickets. I believe that they're still giving a discount for children. I don't know if they're still doing if you're female, you're free. I really don't know how that works, but we'll try to get something together.
Yeah, so I did the Appleseed several years ago. It was another kind of blogger shoot type thing. It was me and Oddball, Linoge, and we had a reader come out too. I did not get my rifleman badge because equipment failure.
Equipment failure.
Yes, equipment failure. Actually, so I used an M&P 1522 because tactical, right?
Tactical.
It was actually the very first time I had ever shot that gun was there, so it wasn't zeroed or anything. And I had real problems actually getting it zeroed, but of course you don't really have a lot of time to zero it there. So come to find out later that the upper receiver on an M&P 1522 is made out of plastic, and the rail flexes as it gets warmer.
Oh.
Yeah. So my front sight stayed where it was supposed to, but my rear sight kind of moved.
Yeah. And I built a Liberty training rifle out of a 1022. And honestly, if you cannot qualify rifleman with my rifle, you're the problem. I would have been embarrassed because as well as that rifle shot, I'd have been embarrassed not to qualify. I shot the high score for that particular go around. I think it was like 236. It might have been 234.
Good times. Well, now I have a 1022, and I'll be using that the next time I go.
Are you serious about self-defense? Do you carry a gun? Do you know the law? What good is defending your life with a gun if your own ignorance of the law means you will spend the rest of your life in a prison cell? Do you want to go home safe to your family or off to the chain gang? Go to lawofselfdefense.com/variety and sign up for one of Andrew Branca's Law of Self-Defense seminars. I've taken the in-person seminar, and it was eye-opening. Like Mark Twain says, it ain't what you don't know that gets you into trouble. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so. But Andrew of lawofselfdefense.com is ready to teach you the truth. What the law says, what the relevant legal rulings say, what the jury instructions say. Go to lawofselfdefense.com/variety and sign up now for a seminar, online or in person. Use discount code VARIETY at checkout and get 10% off everything. That's lawofselfdefense.com/variety and use discount code variety at checkout. And don't forget that we're still accepting donations at gofundme.com/GunBlog VarietyCast. Every little bit helps us towards the goal of getting some better audio equipment. Well, this week, Weird breaks down how irrational and illogical the anti-gun arguments are in This Week in Anti-Gun Nuttery. So hey, Weird, how's it going this week?
It's going well, Sean.
So what do you got for us this week?
All right, well, in honor of the Boston bomber getting found guilty on 30 federal charges, I found something over at Miguel's blog that seemed really, really interesting. It's a graphic from CSGV, and they say, the gun used by the Boston bombers was, you guessed it, trafficked through multiple private transfers. A universal background check in Maine would very well have stopped this gun from making its way to Portland, Maine, and then to the Tsarnaev brothers.
Oh, well, are they right?
So let's go have a look at some of the facts here. So the Ruger pistol used by the Boston Marathon bombers was tracked back to the Cabela's in Maine. CSGV claims that if Maine had universal background checks, it could have stopped the bombers from getting the gun. Of course, this is laughable. So from this ABC News story, in 2011, a Los Angeles native bought the gun as part of a multi-gun purchase from Cabela's. I'm not sure how an LA native, maybe he's an LA native like I'm a Maine native, and he was living in Maine, as you can't sell a handgun to an out-of-state resident. I assume this sale was generally considered legal.
It would kind of have to be. You know, Cabela's is not just going to say, oh, look at that Los Angeles address on your driver's license. Sure, we'll totally break federal law and sell you a handgun.
Yeah, plus that would make it a whole lot bigger story if Cabela's was selling guns illegally.
Yeah, I think it would.
Sometime over the next year, the first buyer gives it to the second owner, an immigrant whose vocation appears to be running a crack dealing ring out of Maine. I assume he's a prohibited person, and the first buyer was aware of his vocation. This is a federal crime.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm looking at the ABC story, and it says, in November 2011, a Los Angeles native, Danny Sun Jr., bought a 9mm Ruger P95 at Cabela's hunting and fishing store in South Portland, Maine. As part of a multi-gun purchase, law enforcement officials and Cabela managers told ABC News. Sun Jr. later told police that at some point over the next year, he gave the weapon to Biniam Icy Tsagai. When Tsagai, an Eritrean immigrant, received the gun, federal prosecutors in Maine said he and others were the target of a multi-agency federal investigation into crack dealing out of Portland hotel rooms. Tsagai would plead guilty to drug charges in 2014. So like CSGV is saying that if Maine had universal background checks, this guy would not have given his gun to a crack dealer?
That's exactly what they're saying, Sean.
Let's imagine a world with universal background checks.
Sure is a lot of traffic for Portland, Maine.
What, there's not a lot of traffic in Maine?
No, it's Maine.
Oh, well, okay.
So, Danny, can I buy a gun from you, Bob?
Dude, Icy, you sure went native quick. No one would ever know you were from Eritrea.
This makes me blend in better so I can sell more crack.
So, you want me to give you a gun?
Yeah.
Dude, if this was only last year, before those out-of-state meddlers from CSGV got those universal background checks passed, I'd totally sell you my piece right now so you could protect your crack business. But now I'm afraid we're just going to have to do this at a licensed gun store who will do the background check for us.
Well, that sucks, because a crack dealer like me would never pass a background check. Since I can't get a gun to protect my criminal enterprise, I guess I should go with my fallback plan. Growing free-range organic kale and selling it at the farmer's market.
Sorry, dude. That sounds totally plausible, I think.
Oh, but wait, there's more. So Icy transfers it to the third owner, who is a Massachusetts resident and was also arrested on burglary charges. So if there's a prohibited person status at the time of that transfer, that's one crime. There's a private sale across state lines, that's a second crime. There's possession of a handgun without a valid Mass LTC, that's a third crime. Possession of a high-capacity magazine in Massachusetts, that's a fourth. And we could tag on a fifth for good measure if he also had ammo for the gun without a permit.
Holy crap, that's a lot of laws they broke.
Next up is a fourth owner who is a friend of the bombing brothers. Now, private transfer is illegal in Massachusetts, so we can add that crime to the above block as there's still no LTC, and the gun, magazine, and ammo are still illegal under Mass law.
Jeez.
Now, the Boston bomber acquires the gun from this fourth owner, again with all of the above violations, as well as acquiring it for the express purpose of using it for robbery. Also note at some point someone obliterated the serial number on the gun, which is also a federal crime.
Yeah.
So, have you counted up all the crimes that were committed before the gun was used as a murder weapon?
I think I lost count at some point.
I wonder, should we even try to count them? Nah.
No.
That sounds like work.
Yeah, seriously.
Care to explain to me how these criminals would have been deterred if there was a universal background check law? Also note that Massachusetts has such a law.
You know, I was just thinking about that. If Massachusetts has a universal background check law and it didn't stop anybody from doing anything, why would they think it would work in Maine?
It's just a bad faith argument, Sean.
Oh, not again. Another bad faith argument from the anti-gunners?
They are consistently consistent on that one.
They are. It's the only thing they're consistent on. All right, Weird. It was good to talk to you. See you again next week.
Talk to you later, Sean.
In addition to appearing here, Weird is a regular host at The Squirrel Report and blogs at weirdworld.com. That's WEERD world.com. Stuff that grinds my gears. We're going to share this one this week, aren't we?
Yeah. Posted properties is what we call them here in Tennessee. So Tennessee has a state law that says if you put up a sign that says no guns allowed, then it's a Class A misdemeanor for you to walk past that sign if you have a carry permit. Only if you have a carry permit, by the way.
Yeah.
So it's a $500 fine. There's no jail time, but forever and ever, amen, you must answer yes to the question on the job application. Have you ever been convicted of a crime?
Yeah, my major problem with it here at the NRA convention was the fact that they had, welcome NRA, no guns allowed.
Yeah, and that was all over the place downtown.
Yeah, there were a lot of places like that. There are a lot of weenies on the downtown. But you know what? Go to the Whiskey Bent.
Yes.
And they will be happy to serve you non-alcoholic drinks and let you listen to their really fantastic band. So if you're a designated driver, you need to tell all of the people that you're driving that where you need to go is the Whiskey Bent.
Yeah.
Super nice people.
Absolutely. Yeah, they were great about it, too.
They were Nashville nice.
Yeah. Throwback.
Well, that's our show for the week. Thanks again to Rob Allen for our music, and thank you for listening to the GunBlog VarietyCast. Sounds used in this podcast were from the Free Sound Project at freesound.org. Constructive criticism can be sent to Sean at SeanSorrentino.com and hate mail to WizardPC at GunsCarsTech.com. Show notes can be found at GunBlogVarietyCast.com/episode 35.